2012 is a big year for Timor Leste. After celebrating its first full decade of independence in May, the country held peaceful and transparent parliamentary elections in July. This young nation seems to be on a path to lasting peace and prosperity. Before independence in 2002, Timor Leste had seen 400 years of colonization and a quarter century of conflict. Starting in late 1999, the IMF has provided a significant amount of technical assistance as part of international efforts to reconstruct Timor-Leste's economy. Since it began exploiting its vast reserves of oil and gas in the Timor Sea just a few years ago, Timor-Leste has seen its revenue grow steadily, yet it remains the poorest country in Asia. In 2004, Timor-Leste started receiving a windfall revenue gain when oil production began in earnest. The newly independent country, deeply impoverished, suddenly began to receive enormous amounts of money. The country needed to find a way to quickly put in place a system for managing its petroleum revenue. With technical assistance from the IMF, it set up a sovereign wealth fund so that over time, ordinary people in Timor-Leste could reap the benefits.
It's petroleum revenues that's actually driving the development activities in the country. But the laws in the country also provide for the petroleum revenues to be saved for future generations. And the country has done extremely well in this regard.
An IMF resident advisor, supported by Japanese financing, helped draft the Petroleum Fund Act, which ensures the petroleum revenues are managed in a sustainable way. This law places restrictions on how much, and for what reason, money can be withdrawn from the fund.
Well, the IMF was instrumental, I think, in the process in 2004, 2005 of setting up the petroleum fund. I mean, they weren't the only people, right? Norway was involved, the World Bank was involved, and of course Timor-Leste's government was the principal institution responsible for that. And I think the country is very fortunate to have a petroleum fund.
But establishing the petroleum fund alone was not enough. The Timorese people wanted to make sure the funds were managed with a high degree of transparency and accountability. So the government worked with an IMF technical assistance expert to put in place the Transparency Portal, an information technology system for publishing quarterly reports on the internet. The IMF helped lay the groundwork for this portal by improving fund management and fiscal reporting.
The government basically provides regular updates on public spending across the country. They've started to put some information in relation to procurements, so upcoming contract awards and contract tenders are posted there. I mean, I think that it's potentially a very useful resource for Parliament and for the Timorese public to actually track what's happening with government expenditure.
We thought, well, if we are as transparent as possible, then everybody will know where the money is going, who is actually getting that money, and is he or she doing what she is supposed to do with that money.
One can either approach corruption reduction from an investigatory and a punitive angle, or one can actually tackle the issue up front and put in place the foundations to actually strengthen financial management systems and reduce the scope for corruption. And I think that a lot of the work that the IMF in the Treasury, in the Ministry of Finance has been doing, has actually been contributing to strengthening financial management systems, both in the Ministry of Finance and across government.
But while nearly everyone in this fledgling democracy can agree that transparency in public spending is a good thing, there's much debate on just how the country's nest egg should be spent.
There was a school of thought that you should put more emphasis on the savings for the future. But there was another school of thought that said, wait, there is no future if you don't invest now. And the current government believed strongly that you needed to invest now in some very basic things like infrastructure and human resources to enable us to actually have a future.
The development challenges in Timor really are enormous. There's a season which they call the hungry season. For 2 or 3 months of every year, a lot of people across the country in the rural areas go without food.
The country's budget has increased from $400 million 4 years ago to about $1.6 billion. allowing the government to spend on priority areas like healthcare, education and infrastructure.
The savings in the petroleum fund have gone up considerably. It's reached $10 billion now. This has been done through very prudent investments that the government has been doing over the past few years. This is important, keeping in mind that the oil revenues of Timor Leste are finite.
This is a make or break moment for Timor Leste. The country cannot afford to squander its newfound wealth. The stakes are too high. But if Timor Leste chooses wisely, the future could yet be bright.
Peace has been the biggest dividend that they have been able to build upon, and I think if peace is sustained, Timor Leste will definitely go places.
When I look around, I see all the ingredients for a miracle in the 21st century, for the nation to be the next miracle. Timor Leste has all the ingredients if it is well managed. And so far, so good. So far, so good.